Hello, hello, hello. I'm here with Joe.
What's up,
Money,
guys?
money, money. Baby, it's always sunny in the rich man's world. That's what we're here to talk about today. How to get it, how to
Yeah,
learn
Jeff.
about it, the different paths to it. Joe has a theory that learning about the investing side of it will make you a better acquirer of it. So that's what we're here
hmm
to explore. So,
Yeah.
Joe, I'm going to just hand it over to you.
Well, first I'll say, Jeff, you already look like you're dressed for money today, so very nice. So maybe that's a good first step. But yeah, I
You got to
do
think
think that
money.
exactly, and I do think that um, I got some feedback in the server today telling people, what their initial thoughts are about whether it's me or maybe just that type of content in general about finance and investing. What they think about it, what the disconnect is for them as far as what they can do with it, because often the question comes to, I don't have money right now. how can i how can I use educational content about investing to um, better myself when I don't have enough money I could set aside for a portfolio to then make decisions about it. And it's an understandable question in some ways. But I think it shows something about the way the mentality for investing is a bit different than other things. Um, and like you just said, Jeff, I think um, waiting to have enough money um, before you actually learn about it and start thinking about what you want to do with investing knowledge, in many ways increases the chance that you will never get into the position that you can do that.
That
And
that's what I want clarified for me. I'm not
yeah,
making that connection
okay,
because
so
I learn by doing. So if I don't have the money to do to practice with, it's not gonna the information is not gonna have any value to me.
and I would agree that that does make it a bit more challenging, which is that a lot of things, if you can just go out and start doing it, it becomes easier. Um, Now, I will say that, for some things, you could do it with a very small amount of money. Like you could, if you had $100 set aside, you could buy,
Don't even
a
know that.
handful of stocks if you wanted to try stock picking, for example, and just sort of see, because the difference is going to be mathematically the same, 10%, 20%, either way, however big the pile is. You could still technically do things with it. But obviously, it would not feel particularly consequential until you actually, had a large amount where, a 10 or 20% difference adds up to something. Um,
Is that one thing you hope to do with the games?
yeah, I'm
Provide
hoping.
some kind of practical ways to
Yeah,
learn it, even if you don't have the money. You can.
yeah, because for me, I really feel like when I look back on my life, the kinds of things that got me into the mindset of an investor where I am today with my own real money started with the kinds of decisions I would make while playing different types of games. I would have to make risk assessments. I would have to think about returns. I think the best example was when I would play the board game Risk, which I started playing in my senior year in high school online, and then I actively played for a few years after that. I haven't really played it much in a long time. Uh,
Real quick, I don't know if there's anything we do about it, but we're running into that background noise issue
oh,
again.
you know what? We might be able to do something about it. It's a shame because there were less people here a
It's
bit
pretty
earlier.
loud. It sounds like there's another conversation competing with this one.
Hold on, let me toggle my
And
settings.
while you do that, I want to break down the Discord discussion because it was about several things actually. One of them was the connection between or the disconnect between the content you're trying to provide and what people actually can make use of. The other one was orienting it toward men specifically, young men, men that are kind of find themselves shut out of society currently or opportunities and are looking for alternative paths. And then the third thing was you yourself and your personality and your presentation. So those were the three themes that I remember coming up in the discussions.
Right, and so I'll talk about the aspect of young men first. So, you know, part of why I even raised it was not so much because I'm worried about the progress of my channel or my content, I know that these things are even a channel dealing with more readily digestible material slowly accumulates followers and becomes successful for that
Yeah,
person.
I think
So I'm
unless
okay
you
with that.
sell out to drama,
Yeah,
it's going to be slow growth. That's the only
and plus,
guaranteed.
I already have decent income from the articles I write for Seeking Alpha, so I'm not really in a hurry to try and come up with income from the content I create in order to get by. I'm already there. It's just a different question of whether or not I can spawn an additional income source over time with stuff I do on YouTube or X, for example. But that's not really the issue. What really got me thinking about it and why we brought it up in the Discord today is, I saw yet another example where I see the current state of young men in America and how, to me, it almost seems like the question I'm asking myself is like, why aren't more of them getting into something like this than seems to be the case, given the reality a lot of them face? And so, did you see the tweets I screenshot in the server I'm
Yeah,
looking at?
you want me to share them, or do you want to share them?
Yeah, why don't you share them?
Let me pull them up. Um, I gotta find them. Okay, there's the one about Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah, go ahead and share that one. I think actually maybe there's some important concepts there, right?
Is it showing up?
Yeah, I see it. So yeah, I I I quote retweeted or whatever it's called. Um, Yet another reason why I ended up as a stock analyst and investor. If you asked 18-year-old me what I'd do, I would have never guessed this. Bilbo Baggins didn't know he'd be heading to the Lonely Mountain either. Do you understand what that means, Jeff? I don't know if you know the story of The Hobbit.
The Hobbit? Yeah.
Okay, so you basically know exactly what I'm trying to say at the very least when I write that,
Yeah,
yeah?
he was kind of retired, and Gandalf shows up at his door and says, "Hey, we need you to do this thing," and he had no idea that he was going to go off on this magical adventure.
Right, exactly. So, part of what the way I look at it is, Bilbo could not wait to become in his head, oh, I'm an adventurer, I'm a hero, before he goes and does it, right? He had to be willing to take that first step. And that's sort of like, it's not just
But
true of investing, it's true of, a lot of things we do in life, right?
the first step came. It's the hero's journey, the classic
Mhm.
hero's journey. It came with the call to adventure. So it came from an external opportunity or invitation or something. It didn't. He didn't self-generate the adventure.
Right. And so some of it I think is getting folks to recognize the call, right? So the call comes before he actually realizes how to be a hero, right? Throughout the book, we see Bilbo discover what it takes to be a hero, right? He starts out uh, more timid and cowardly, you could say, and he gradually finds his courage over the course of the story, and has moments where he rises more and more to the occasion. And so by the end, he's a changed man, right? And he's able to look back and see this about himself, and he can recognize that there are probably things in his youth that he would have done differently, knowing what he does now about what it is to be who he is now in that world. And like for my purposes, right? I had to I got into stocks and investing more as a response to things that happened in life versus just I spontaneously did it, right? So I had my own call to it. You could say it's my call to adventure. Just everyone's the main character of their own story. Um, and I can look back and say there are definitely things I would have done differently with money, would have thought to do differently in terms of job seeking, if they had simply known what I did now. But I didn't really learn it until I was willing to take the first step and go down that road and see where it leads. And it's it was a gradual process. Um, and so um, because I was willing to do that, I then began to think more clearly about, well, here's what I can do with money. I need to make sure I make as much as I can, save as much as I can, and get to a point where I can be more financially secure. And I achieved that to some degree while I had standard form of employment that was paying me decently enough to do that, right? So it's going to vary from person to person how readily they can move on that and quickly they can achieve it. Right? So talking to an internet of millions of people, it's going to vary how much each of them can make use of it. But I suspect there are a lot of people who really need to make everything count that aren't seeing I think the opportunities that are posed by finance and investing. And the reason I think this is important for young men is because um, investment, the investment world is very open to everybody, and it's not you know uh, discriminatory against you. Right? You can open an account, you can put in buy and sell orders, and it's not going to ask you a bunch of questions. It's not going to it's not like when a company declares dividends or a fund declares dividend. If you just prefer to do index, that it's going to distribute dividends differently based on DEI priorities. All shareholders are equal. Um, there's no mechanism to turn this against investors like that, right? And so if you look at the other tweet that was mentioned, right, it was a phrase that the account Homath, and that's a YouTuber who goes under the handle Homath. And he mostly talks about dating, but he talks about more general topics when he's just chatting on X. And there was this phrase he used called "the great getting around it,"
The
um,
great finding your way
and the great
around,
finding around
find
it,
around
right?
it.
All right, and finding your way around it. The it is basically this um, career and economic system that is um, very slanted against young men. And so, they have to be creative. They have to be hustlers. They have to, look at pretty much every option of alternative forms of income that don't neatly fit into the traditional idea of a 9 to 5 job, because most of the educational and career initiatives out there where they're going to put you on a pipeline of success are not oriented toward them. They're oriented toward women, or especially uh, minorities as well, or LGBT people. So
Are very
young men,
compliant men that can go along with all of that and
right? Which is
mind their
not,
place.
well. We're talking about young men. How many young men is that going to be, right? Um, and so uh, that's the thing. And so it's just a thing where um, basically we were working around that system. And one of the great things about uh, finance and investing is that you can work around it because you can be anonymous about it. That investments do not care about your demographics, and that's why I like Peter Lynch has this great quote I've used many times. I think I've even said it on the stream before. The stock doesn't know you own it. It's not going to love you or hate you. It's not going to care. All that really matters is what was the price at which you buy it, and then like what
So your
return did you get
gender is
over
not
time.
going to be a barrier.
Right. It structurally cannot be an issue, and so all you have to do is know basic math, and have little common sense when picking investments. And as long as you don't do like really stupid or greedy things with it, it's something that over time tends to work out pretty well. It requires patience. There's no get rich quick to any of this, but if you are a young man and you're willing to make it through some of um, the hurdles of your life currently that you'll experience in your 20s and into your 30s, you can eventually get to a point,
Or your
um,
50s.
yeah, or your 50s, where you can make your money work for you, and you don't need to depend on the system ever giving you a break, or giving you your due or recognizing your merit, right? Especially if it's one that hates the idea of merit.
First, you have to get the money, and that's one of the things we were going to talk about today, because you're saying if you learn about what you do with the money once you have it, it's going to somehow help you acquire it to do the thing with it that you're learning to do. And I need that fleshed out for me a little bit more. I'm hearing two things. I'm hearing the whatever skill you learn from learning about investing, you can apply to acquiring money. And I'm also hearing that a lot of the skills you develop from gaming are the skills that you learn to use on investing?
Yes, I mean, a lot of gaming um, involves strategies that require us to make some kind of investment to get some kind of return, even if it's not in strictly monetary terms. So, if you, I'll go back to the example of Risk. It's a board game where you have armies, you get armies each turn depending on how much territory you have. You attack people, gather more territory. You lose some armies in the battle. The idea is that long term, if you gain more territory, your yield of armies from the territory gained will exceed what you spend in attacking people and incurring casualties. Um, and if you do it with some precision, you can win control of the whole board, which is how you win. And to talk about the form of Risk I played online, it's possible to add a lot more sort of custom rules to the traditional board game. An important one being fog of war. So anyone who's a gamer might know a fog of war mechanic is usually one where you cannot see the entire board. You can usually only see the board or the map that is directly adjacent to what you control. And so playing with that feature, which I really enjoyed, I found that I had to make a lot of decisions in terms of committing resources with uncertainty. Like I couldn't see what was there. I had to be willing to make educated guesses based on my own sort of investigation of the board and how things had been playing out up to that point, and then get behind those. And I found that the more I was willing to um, investigate and make sure I was making an informed decision, the more I tended to win. And I actually had a pretty high win rate after a while. Um, and I began to look at some of the data of my games and analyze it. It was just something I did while I was bored, and I would notice some things about what led to a good strategy, and I could get into the mathematically nerdy aspects of it. But the point is, it's
No,
like
don't do
it's
that
not,
here.
yeah, it's it's not too different than what you could do to look at investment opportunities and figure out how to make your money
But again,
work for you.
we're at the investing end. How would you apply that to the acquisition end? How would you apply that to getting a job, self-employment, entrepreneurship, the things that the pathways for acquiring the money to invest in the first place? Because you're saying that the more you learn about the investing, the better it's going to help you acquire the money to invest. And I'm still not making the connection. So I need you to apply everything you're talking about investing to the acquisition end of the process. And
Right.
so you can start translating the investing lessons into very practical lessons for how to acquire the money.
Right. So one thing I think is when people spend their money, um, a lot of people I don't think look at what the opportunity costs are, right? So for me, once I learn more about what I can do with my money is invested, um, I look at something that I could buy, maybe an impulse buy, and it's much more often that I look at it and think, well, if I spend money on this, I don't have money to, put it to work in this, right? I'm immediately aware of what every dollar can do and like what kind of opportunities are there. Like I just checked something on the market, an investment I had looked at. I'm like, I could buy this now, but I can also just buy more of this and increase my long-term wealth, right? That's a very psychologically different thing, right? Than like I know what it's like to look at something that I might impulse buy 10 years ago before I was into all of this. And so, that in itself transforms the way that uh, you make money, and it's in two ways, right? One way you make money is how you manage your expenses, right? If you can't raise your income right away, you can increase your net income by reducing your expenses. And it force you to think, well, what's really worth spending money on if I know what I can do with my dollars. Right now, the the trickier part of it, as you yourself have experienced, Jeff, is how do you increase the gross income ahead of the net income, right? Because that means you have to find someone or something that's willing to give you money right now in exchange for something. Now, I suspect there are a lot of people who wait on income earning opportunities because they're worried that it may not be worth their time because they think it won't set them up for the right long-term career. But I think that if, especially while people are young and in their prime earning years, um, if they were willing to pursue at least temporary employment opportunities that could get them something and just save it, um, as long as they save it well and learn what they need to do about investing it appropriately, they're then in a better financial situation that they can um, make career shifts and then be able to support themselves, even if the career shifts are, aren't going to be quite as feasible initially, or maybe if they do really well with accumulating and saving, um, initially subsist primarily on whatever income their portfolio produces, and they could do so, but well before they're in their like 60s, the usual retirement age range. It's not something where you have to wait for your whole life to pass you by before you're finally free. And I think, if you're part of this generation of young men that have been, painted into a corner by the system, like you really can't afford to wait that long. You have to be looking at these opportunities. I think one reason why people often don't do that with investing, where they see like, oh, let me go ahead and just make the steps now to prepare for it and not wait until I have enough money to invest before I think about investing, is because I think there's a lot of psychological barriers people have around money that they don't have with other things.
Well, one reason is because one takeaway I got from you is that until you have $10,000, like you shouldn't invest until you have $10,000 of savings to
Mhm.
invest or to put in that money market thing first. And so with that as the benchmark, I don't even bother with the investing stuff. Because I have this idea now from you that until I have $10,000, it's not even worth playing around with investing.
Yeah, I mean, I would say in terms of like making capital commitments, right? Um, yeah, something like 10,000 might be where you want to think about it, and just easier in the meantime to have it in some kind of high interest thing like a money market
Yeah.
or something like that. Um, that
So I
doesn't
think that's
mean
going to be out of reach for a lot of young men
yeah that
initially.
doesn't that doesn't mean that there's not stuff you can't actively learn in the meantime. Um, and I was learning quite a bit before I really had um, nearly as much as I have now to invest. Um, like I was only just kind of getting to that minimum threshold. And so um, I think Brown's boy said, "What's the best investment yourself?" Well, I mean, and that is initially true because you need to be able to generate to raise the initial capital that you're going to invest, and that means you have to be working on yourself. It also means you need to be very open minded to what's um going to be your source of income. Like I didn't expect that I was going to be a legal assistant, but it's a job I ended up doing. I didn't expect that I was going to be a Starbucks barista, but it's a job that I ended up doing. Um, I think
But
a
you
lot of
also you had negative experiences with those that kind of led you down the path you're in now, which is to take yourself out of the workforce, which is kind of what I did. And
Mhm.
I had a lot of resistance to going back in. So I shut myself out of opportunities that I could have been taken advantage of because of internal psychological stuff that I had to reframe and learn to overcome to take advantage of those opportunities. So I could understand the applicability of investing to like spending habits, and the idea is to take advantage of enough opportunities to generate or acquire income and balance that against the spending. So
Mhm.
to keep the cash flow. But I think we shut ourselves out of a lot of those opportunities because of like past experiences or beliefs that we have that create resistance to that. And that's what I had to
Mhm.
learn to overcome in order to start seeing the opportunities that were there.
Mhm.
And so is the investing skill set useful for learning to spot opportunities and kind of learning to unlearn the habits that keep us from seeing or taking advantage of those opportunities in the first place?
So I would say so in one way, and not so much from the perspective of a portfolio manager. But one thing I will say is that, especially if you get into like the stock picking part of it, you learn about investments, you learn about what makes for a successful business, you learn about what makes for an unsuccessful business. Um, a lot of it just comes down to how they manage things like cash flow. How they prioritize certain forms of capital allocation. Um, and learning like basically what were the basic decisions that different business managers were making. So like in your situation, Jeff, right? You've talked about how you need to look for a job to get some additional income to make your current overall business dealings sustainable, right? You mentioned before you had taken on a personal loan of some sort in order to
Yeah, I had to go into
finance
debt
some.
to start that business.
Right, and so the way you make that work and the way that you sort of turn things around seems like things are tighter now is fundamentally going to be the same as what businesses do, right? And so part of why like I've had some thoughts um, about what you might want to do for your situation is just based on looking at what lots of businesses, big ones, small ones, insurance, um, chemical company, fast food, retail, auto industry, whatever, at a lot of the different things they do. And, a lot of them sink or swim for fundamentally the same reason, right? It's like, um, when did they take on debt? How much was it? And, if it got to be out of hand, how did they manage it? How did they get it down? What cuts were they willing to make? It's a lot of the same story, just in different iterations of it, right? It's sort of like the hero's journey is often the same basic journey, right? Bilbo Baggins and Luke Skywalker have some things in common with each other, right? They have a call to adventure from an old mentor, whether it's Gandalf or Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? And there's, you can think of yourself as not much different than a small business or a large business. A lot of it's just managing cash flow and sort of knowing how to spot um, revenue opportunities. And what makes a really good business are often managers or models or both
Wait, what?
that
Say that again.
I said often what makes a really good business are managers or models or both
What was
that
the
are
adjective though?
uh, what makes a good business.
I don't know. There was a word in there I didn't catch. So,
Oh,
well,
well,
anyway,
yeah.
good.
So
Okay, go ahead. What makes a good
managers,
business is
managers or models or both that lend themselves well to just you know new value capture opportunities, and also sometimes this is just taking the current model and cloning it somewhere else, right? You got one hot dog stand that does really well. Just take the same way you run that hot dog stand, put it on the other side of town. Now you've got the north side and south side done. And then once you've made some more money, you reinvest in your third hot dog stand in the next town. And you can do that for till you get as big as you can, right? And then, if you're really thinking about, well, how do I capture more value once I've covered a large area? Well, you start adding burgers to the hot dog stands, right? Now you're doing burgers and hot dogs. You add up,
fries. Hello, where are the fries?
there you go. See, you're already doing it for me. Um, and from there, you just think, what more, things can we cover? Um, maybe there's a lemonade stand that's also popular in your turf. Do you buy them out and then integrate it with your hot dog stand business, right? And you don't have to be particularly smart or traditionally educated to figure these things out. You just have to be paying attention to these things, and you're good. Your ability to notice these things as an individual looking for your own job opportunities is not going to be too different than a business CEO thinking like, well, how do we find like a new business line to increase our revenue to keep this thing going? And I found that in my own life, my mindset toward looking at these things, ways I could make money, got a bit more flexible when I just started reading a lot of businesses and thinking about how they can make money, and thinking of myself as essentially a living business. Because when you invest in a business, you're investing in people. Really, that's what a business is. It's people working
Yeah,
together
I've
to make.
always said that everything you say about stocks I relate to people. I do the same thing with people that you do with businesses and stocks. So there is a connection. Oh, I don't
Yeah.
believe that, Browns boy. it's or or if that is your secret, you did a way better job of it than anybody realizes. You you learn from keeping your mouth shut while running it the whole time.
Yeah. So those are things that can be done to um, help someone out. And I think like if someone's like trying to start a side business, for example, if you study stocks of businesses that are successful, you will see things that they do that make sense that help them, and you'll see like stocks that do horribly, stocks that go from 100 a share to $5 a share. There's a very obvious reasons why that happened, and you can know certain things to avoid. Like,
Now, I know you've mentioned Walmart as like a decent company. Are there things to learn from how Walmart operates as a business?
yeah, I think so. Walmart really pioneered the large scale general store model, and they also just tended to do a lot of low cost labor. They made a habit of importing a lot of cheap goods, so they were able to just compete on prices. And um, uh, as this allowed them to gather more market share, as they drove like the mom and pop retail store that would be on your street corner at a business, um, this allowed them to scale up better and make more money from their thin margins. Now retail is tough, right? Retail is always a thin margin operation. It's very easy to blow up in your face. So I don't expect anyone could do their own Walmart, right? So like basically,
Maybe that's what I can do is compete on prices.
yeah, but between like Walmart, Amazon, Costco, like they're kind of the retail kings at this point, and that's why they're successful. But they've driven a lot of retail businesses out of business, and permanently captured their previous customer bases. Um, and they can continue to grow because they have a very consistent model, and it's just Walmart just opens another super center or Sam's Club somewhere else.
So
Costco.
which retail outside of that is still successful? The ones that have more of a targeted market or product?
Well, so some people are mentioning grocery stores, but Walmart is the largest grocer in the
Yeah,
country by a
it
large
is.
margin. So I mean and that is actually like a big advantage to them. I think a big part of why they have managed to do well against the likes of Amazon is because I would say that um, for grocery shopping, it's a bit harder to make that work in an e-commerce sense, just because there's the risk that the food can go bad while it's being shipped. Because you
And
could have a one,
substitutions, that's the big barrier.
yeah. Because if it's going
Get
to be shipping for like 1 to 3 days, right? That's a lot of food is perishable. It's not going to last that long. But whereas if you go to the store and just get what you want yourself, right? You can immediately get it in the
Yeah.
fridge or at the
That's why I
store.
don't do order mail delivery for
Yeah,
groceries cuz the
and
order's never going to come like I placed it.
right, and then while people are there at Walmart getting groceries, there are other things they might pick up or see while they're there. So the
Like
grocery
the
store,
people of
yeah, the grocery store naturally lends itself to just the traditional brick and mortar part of
well,
their
like
sales as well.
so clothing, people still buy specialty like all the clothing brands have their own stores and
Hmm.
outlets and stuff that you can't necessarily get at Walmart. So clothing is still a retail option for a lot of people. But I'm trying to think of other things. There's no more bookstores, music stores, video stores, that kind of stuff. Maybe jewelry, clothing. I'm trying to think of retail outside of the big three.
Well, um,
Auto parts.
I think one thing that might be helpful is if you were to consider if you I know that there are some like
Game
smaller
stores.
operations. So a friend of mine almost got into this thing where it would be a bread route delivery service. Um, so there are these stores that sell a certain brand of bread that's apparently popular in Oregon, and they have a they basically have a business that runs like a route for like I think delivering it to like 5 or 6 stores, and I think the amount of like money it grosses is somewhere into the six figures or so, if I remember correctly. Um, and the people running this were trying to sell this business to somebody, and my friend almost got in on it. She needed to get a loan from the bank, and the bank would not support it because even though it had established cash flows, they could not collateralize the loan with anything.
You said it was bread?
Yeah, just shipping bread. It was a local thing, established customer base, and
Like
you
the
wouldn't.
wholesome man?
I guess. I don't
Yeah, they
remember.
used to. My uncle used to be a bread man. He'd drive a truck and they would deliver bread to people's homes.
You
It
can't
was a big
pronounce.
industry.
You can't pronounce
How do you
an O.
pronounce it? Oregon? Oregon? I say Oregon.
I say Oregon.
You can't pronounce an O with an I. Oregon? Oregon? Oregon. Because there's a
Oregon.
philosopher, a church father, like Oregon. Oregon. I call him Oregon, and Oregon. The state. I call
I've
it
always heard it.
Oregon.
I've always heard it
Oregon
Oregon.
sounds pretentious, or a local. I don't want to sound either one.
Oregon sounds like some sort of
But
Greek
but
deity.
I also say Oregon Trail. I don't say Oregon Trail.
Anyway, yeah. So in that case, it was something that she didn't have to create out of nothing, but um, was something that she could have done, um, just by buying into it. And even like she could have bought the business and then hired somebody to actually do the deliveries for her and just keep the earnings. Her issue was just she couldn't find any bank nearby that would be willing to finance the acquisition. Now, again, that's if you're somebody that's going to do something like that. Um, what you can look at, Jeff, is I mean, you've already got your LLC with the peer counseling. You can continue to look at how you build
Yeah,
that
I'm
up.
thinking of dropping my price. I can compete on prices.
Yeah, so you might
Because
want to do
I
that.
wanted to start out offering very low prices, and everybody that knows me and my business coach talked me into keeping it at a certain price, and I resisted that from the start, and I still do. And I hardly ever get clients because of the pricing. If I dropped the price, I'd at least have clients, and I'd be making something over nothing.
Yeah, and that might be worth considering is if you can figure out how much you can reduce your price without it being
Right,
too.
to break
And
e That's the other problem with taxes and business expenses. I have to keep it at a certain level just to break even.
yeah, and so I am usually an advocate of give yourself a good price. I mean, I even said that like my Discord server I'm going to have paywall because I think there's certain advantages to making things a little expensive, right? You don't want to be too cheap. Um, and even though I don't have anybody in my Discord server yet, I'm okay with that because I want to make sure that when there are people in it, right, like they have a certain idea of what they're getting out of it, and what the experience is going to be like there, and what's acceptable in there. Um, and I think any serious person doing a business should be willing to do that. When I worked at that law firm, and I primarily operated in a sales role, I would have to defend our high prices, especially on some of the crazier cases. Um, when talking to the potential clients, and defend the value of the attorneys, and basically saying, hey, you got yourself in trouble here. You've got a court date. The court is the hammer of the law, like literally. um, if you want some help on this, you need to be willing to pay up. Our attorneys went to law school, for 4 years. After 4 years of college, they put in the hard work and expenses to be qualified professionals to help you through this. They aren't worthless. You better pay up. And a lot of people want cheap lawyers, but lawyers don't come cheaply. Lawyers are every individual, even a bad lawyer, it costs something for them to become a lawyer. So, and our lawyers were not we're not bad lawyers.
Yeah,
Well,
but
except maybe one of them. But
$35 to answer an email or a voice message is way too. There's nothing that justifies that to me.
is that what?
Yeah, when we had in Vegas and we had a lawyer, that's how much they charge.
Oh,
Every time
well,
they returned a voicemail or an email, it was $35
so we
for
didn't do that.
seconds of work.
We didn't do that. We did free consultations on the phone and such. Um, the payment was for representation on the
And this
case.
is
So
one of
it's
the
like,
cheap lawyers.
right. So if we're talking about prices, the price was if you actually want them to go to court and be your lawyer on your court date, that's what the price was. And people will be like, "What? It'd be $700 for
We had
this?"
to
And it's like,
pay an upfront fee, like a retainer, just to hire them, not even the hours of work yet.
yeah.
And then they
And
had the billable hours, and then they had the things like email fee, voicemail fee, that kind of
no,
stuff.
we didn't nickel and dime people like that. We had a single price upfront for full representation, right? Going to court as many times as it takes, doing a review of the case, coming up with a plan, making recommendations, having the legal assistants, keep
That
in
was a
touch with
flat
you.
rate or an hourly rate.
It was a flat rate. So it'd be like something like $700 if it was like a more serious charge. The basic rate for like the very simple things like a minimum speeding ticket would be like $99 in most cases, right? Wouldn't include the court costs. You'd have to pay those to the court once the case is over. But like we would only get the 99 for the more basic cases. And then, but I often had to deal with the higher value cases, so I'd be dealing with cases that would be 500, 600, 700, maybe even thousands of dollars, right? Like 2 or 3K, depending on if it was a really bad case or if they had accumulated a lot of cases in a short span of time, which um, some people did. And
I'm going to
so it's
open the
like,
panel because it seems like there's a lot of people that want to contribute.
yeah,
But
I see Zance is talking about it, but I mean, we had very simple pricing, and for most people, if you just had one case, it was one price, and that's it, and it would only be more
and the
money
other
if it.
frustrating thing was they didn't tell us this up front. When we got the bill, is when we found
Yeah,
out about
no,
it.
we
So
we,
if we
we
had
were
known
very
ahead of time, we would not have called them or emailed them nearly
we
as.
did not play games. The free consultation is so we could say, hey, I'm Joe, I'm legal assistant here. Let me get some information about your case. Okay, thanks for giving me that information. So, we have an attorney so and so who works locally in this county and can represent you on these cases. This is what they say is usually the process for this sort of case, typical expectations. They'll look at, do a review of your case and your driving record beforehand, and they'll go to court for you. You don't have to go. Um, and then they'll let you know the decision of the court after they've negotiated it with the DA. And then, rate for representation is X amount of dollars. The only amount we'll collect upfront. The other costs, be like court costs you have to pay to the court. If the court wants you to go to driving school, you pay the driving school
And this was
costs.
mostly just traffic tickets, traffic
Yeah, it was
violations.
almost exclusively traffic. We did a handful of non-traffic criminal cases depending on specific situations, but yeah, like we were very transparent. It wasn't any of this BS, but I defended the prices. I wouldn't, trick you into something that costs money and then bill you later. It was none of
Wow.
that, right?
That's what our lawyers did.
Well, I mean, that's
But this was
we
like people suing other people. It wasn't traffic
we,
court.
we didn't want to do that because there's lawyers that do stuff like that, and they're the lawyers that give all lawyers a bad reputation, and then we would get angry clients who think we tricked them based on something that they misunderstood. They call us cussing out on the phone, and we'd have to explain, this is actually what the email says. It's not what you thought it said. And then they'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. And it's just,
All right, let's
yeah,
see if
it's just,
this works.
that stuff's it's just annoying
Hello.
that people do that. But like, if you are transparent in, costs and stuff, I'm generally a defender of high prices. But if you're pricing yourself out to the point where you don't get any business and there's no cash flow, you do need to look at lowering your price somewhat. We do not have a problem
that's the situation I'm in, and I only did it because I'm listening to all these other people. Like my own intuition is not to do that, to make it more affordable, because I know my client base. I know what they can afford.
You gotta look at like what gets me to the basic amount of cash flow that I need, and then from there you experiment with price increases. What can you get away with right? That you make more money. Like,
Yeah.
and I'll give an example too of like how investing can be helpful. This is actually interesting because it does pertain to maybe the type of side hustle that some young men could do. So, um,
Well, real quick before you do that, Brown's boy, is it working? Hmm.
so
It
Zen,
connected
I'm
you.
going to tell you that there is a flat rate. We had a flat rate in what we did. We did not nickel and dime people. We didn't slap on hidden fees. Some law firms do, but we did not. Right? There are such things as a flat rate, and we would tell people it's a flat rate, and they would ask, "Is that the only cost?" And I would say, "Yes, it's a flat rate." Like I get that some people can't believe flat rate when they hear it, but that's how we did things. And it would only cost more money if you came to us with a brand new case that we didn't quote yet, right? So if you give us more business, we'll give you some more prices. But we never said, "Oh, we did this for you. Now it costs this. Oh, by the way, it costs this much." We would never do that. People would only get quoted more if they brought us more. That was it.
Okay, I kind of hear you. I hear little clicking noises. Uh, do you have satellite? Like not what is it? Not Wi-Fi? The data plan part of your phone? We got to get you a better phone.
So if we're gonna keep waiting on him, um, I'd
No,
like
go.
to sort of
He can.
yeah.
No,
Go
he
ahead.
can
On
jump
screen
in.
or anything.
Okay.
I'm
He's
about.
pretty good about jumping in. We kind of have you.
I got nothing, man. My
You're
bad.
you're
My
coming in
bad.
now.
Thanks anyway.
No, no. Hey, hey, stick around because you had a lot to say in the chat that I think was very valuable.
I can't. This,
Oh, it's the signal. All right. Well, at least we tried. We got to figure out how to get you a better phone. Did you look into Boost Mobile? That's what I use, and I can stream all over the place. All right, go ahead, Joe. We tried.
Yeah. So a good example is oh, yeah, just trying to remember. So there's this so like if you're a lot of people who are on YouTube or streamers, this often toward like a gaming community, right? A lot of people in your audience even are gamers, right? And
Supposedly.
yeah, and one of the thriving gaming communities is the Super Smash Brothers community. So um, because that's a competitive scene, sometimes custom controllers are made for the professional players who go in like the big league tournaments and play. And so at the events, like the tournaments or the conventions, there will be artisans who take um, these standard controllers and then customize them so that
I've
they're
been saying merch. We haven't tried that yet. Where's Chuck?
yeah, and then so they will sell them to folks. Now, there's a YouTube video you can find about it that covered this young lady who had a custom controllers business. She was getting payments for it, and then not um, shipping most of her orders for 3 or 4 years, which obviously like just basically amounted to stealing. And she made a lot of excuses for um, why that happened. Now, people are paying hundreds of dollars for it, and apparently she just got more orders than she could handle, and just her response to it was to be like, and just kind of just hide herself from the problem for years, and just not respond to emails and try to act like she did not have an issue where she had more orders than she could handle. Now, when you read about businesses, for example, like if you do investing, um, you know that if you have more orders than you can handle, the response is to raise your prices, right? Raise your prices until the volume is manageable, right? And you basically get paid the same for less work, or you get paid more for more work, right? Um, and So she was not doing that, right? And maybe it's because she just wasn't thinking about it like that. But like that's an example where like if you read about businesses that do that and become successful, they adjust their prices based on what the actual demand is. Then they can improve in that way. And for her part, um, it wasn't very successful because she didn't think to do that. But like that's a thing where you can learn from it over time and you get better. Um, and I even commented that on the YouTube video that sort of uncovered it was um, if she had just raised her prices, she would have been better off. And now in your case, it's kind of the opposite, right? Your price is a bit too high. So, uh, even though you have coaches who are like, they're sticking up for you, right? Like defend your value, stand by what you bring to the table. If your volume is almost zero, then that suggests that your prices are too high. If you just believe in markets, you believe that they, price things based on what they're willing to pay, then, even if the coach says, no, price yourself high, well, clearly you're too high if you're not getting much business.
Yeah, because and part of the reason is I think they market to more of a middle class or upper middle audience, and they don't understand that that is not where my audience comes from.
Right. And so, the win, it could always change. Maybe 2 years from now, there is this just explosion of demand from, let's say, neurodivergent people who want peer counseling, right? And you get more orders, more requests for appointments than you can handle, right? That's the moment that you increase prices until you can manage your
Right.
time, right? But if you're not there yet, you need to cut prices until you have enough
That's what I
revenue.
keep saying. They keep saying
Right.
no. I'm gonna do it. But holiday sale, what is it? Year sale, Black Friday sale, whatever. I've just lowered all my prices. If you need one-on-one help, contact me.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly because I don't know what the cash flow is like. I don't know what your current margins are, what the right price cut would be. But if it's like a thing where I need more clients, cut the prices. Don't feel bad about it. Now, if you cut prices, you get to a point where things are sustainable. You're netting some money. Things are improving, right? And then people try to haggle with you on price. That's when you say, no, this is what I'm worth, right? Other people are willing to pay it. You should too, right? And if you don't like it, go find someone else. But that's after you have the regular recurring business. So, um, that's an example. And that's like, again, that's you doing what you can do to make money. I think one of the reasons why I think generally learning about investing is good for a large audience is because, again, it doesn't care about you as an individual. Stock doesn't know you own it, but it'll give the same good or bad returns depending on.
Sometimes it's nice to not be cared about. I think that's a good lesson
Yeah.
to take away too.
If you look at
Impersonality.
if you look at my Discord profile, there's a quote I put in there. And the quote is also from Lord of the Rings. It's Aragorn. When he says this to Frodo in the Fellowship of the Ring, he says, I can avoid being seen if I wish, but to disappear entirely, that is a rare gift. And
Oh, I got that. That's a gift. I got that one mastered.
there you go.
Do you want to talk about your Discord? Plug it.
No, not at this moment.
Okay. Well, how are you going to get members?
I think I got to just keep working.
Opportunity. You're passing up an opportunity right now.
I got to keep working on the content. I think the interest in the content has to be there, for the interest in the Discord has to be there. So,
okay.
One step in front of the other. But, when we talk about what individuals can do to, make more money so that they can, like, while they're earning at whatever their business ventures are, they can put some of it into a portfolio and grow that. That's going to be based more on their individual strengths, where they live. Right. So some of the young men.
That's where opportunity comes in, like knowing
Yeah.
their strengths and matching it to existing opportunities.
Right. So it's like some young men, maybe they're going to be plumbers. Maybe that's their thing. Maybe some of them are going to be, they can do some coding. Me, I'm a stock analyst, but that also means I'm a writer. and I had writing skills for a very long time that I just couldn't figure out a way to use. But I finally found the opportunity that allows me to use them. And if I had done it sooner, I would have been better off. I had almost a prejudice in my own mind against being a stock analyst because I just thought, like, why would I do this? But like once I started doing it, I just realized, I had no reason not to do this before. For some reason, I was suffering from imposter syndrome or something where I thought I shouldn't be writing stock analysis articles.
I
But
wish there was
apparently,
a video version of writing where people paid other people to make videos.
yeah, maybe there's something like that in some cases. I guess it would depend. Um,
Well, that'd be nice.
yeah. So, but for my part, I was able to find something that I could naturally do well myself writing. I connected it to something that people find valuable, which is investing. On a large internet platform like Open
Leggy, is
Alpha.
that going to get my channel struck?
But it hasn't got anybody else's struck yet.
Oh boy.
Right.
So
So
Man,
yeah.
it's dark. It's dark over there.
Jeff. So now that Leggy's here and we're like an hour in, do you feel like maybe some of the dots have been more easily connected?
Still not the opportunity end. The cash flow, the inflow, the spending habit stuff. I kind of understand a little bit more. I'd also like to hear more about the gaming side of it. It's like how you can transfer a gaming skill set. Because I'm not a video gamer, but I am a board gamer,
Mm.
and so I have board game skills that I don't necessarily conceptualize in ways that can help with business. And
Okay.
so those are areas for content, I think, and the opportunity area. Like, is any of this skill set useful in identifying opportunity and or creating opportunity? It's something at the opportunity end of it.
Yeah, I think so. But I do think when you look at like new gross income opportunities, right? Um, the tricky thing there for recommendations is that like every individual has different opportunities depending on who they are, what they've learned, what hobbies they have, where they live, the people they know, right? It's going to be a different set of cards they've been dealt. And if I'm doing something that is like of a general nature educationally about investing, um, right? That's not necessarily going to map onto any specific individual situation at any time. But what it can do is open the door to learning about what other businesses do, because other businesses are basically what individuals started doing, like it's their side business that eventually took off and became something bigger. Like we
So,
all know that
Joe,
Bill Gates started in his garage, right? Like
what
he
would
was
you
just some guy with a
say?
garage.
What would you
Yeah, I think
say
so.
if I told you yesterday I
Mm-hmm.
had $13,000 yesterday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and at 4:57 p.m. this afternoon, I do not have $13,000. What would you say about that?
What did you do
Um,
with it?
I would assume you spent it on something.
I did.
Was it weed?
No, fuck no. Well, I mean, I did buy me some pot, but no, I didn't buy $13,000 worth of pot. Come on, Jeff. No, I bought my kids Christmas gifts. I bought tires. I mean, I'm not broke. I mean, I still got like 7,500 left out of it. But
Yeah, Leggy would be a good one to talk about cash flow and spending and that kind of stuff. He has more of it coming in and more
trust me, the more that
spending
comes in, it seems like the
obligations.
more you spend. But like
The more
me,
that
see, I'm smart because I took out of that money. I took and I paid a couple months worth of rent. I paid a couple $100 extra on my light bill. Uh, we paid an extra 2 months on cable and internet and shit like that, phone bill, however the hell, the Spectrum bill. And then I bought my kids a Christmas gift. I bought my kid a gaming laptop, my other kid an iPhone and an iPad.
That's all
Bought
those Christmas
iBooks.
gifts they were wanting
Yeah, yeah.
to keep up with the other kids.
Yeah. Well, look, as I said, if they weren't honor roll students, they'd be a big difference. But when they get straight A's and B's, well, you kind of can't complain, you know. What more can you really ask for? Your kids do well. They don't cause extra problems. They don't get
Mm-hmm.
detention. Like, so I'm going to reward them the best I can. You know, they don't get spoiled, but when I do have the extra money and they deserve something, they get it.
You sound like a good dad.
Well, I try to be. I mean, I'm strict. I think I'm strict. Not as strict as what my dad was, but I'm still strict.
Just don't teach him to beat up other kids.
Look, my
Are
kid
are they
knows.
all girls? You
Yeah,
have
but my
just
girl
girls?
knows point blank. Don't let no bitch put hands on you.
Go
Cause
beat her ass.
if she puts hands on you, you better at least fucking defend yourself. Don't take a fuck. Cause either way, I learned this a long time ago in school. At least around here, it don't matter who the aggressor is. You're both getting kicked out of school anyways. So you might as well not get your ass kicked. You might as well at least defend yourself and all that. So.
Not laws. Are you talking about Nightmare, that game from the '90s that came with a VHS cassette and it had the crypt keeper, the gatekeeper, or whatever? I'm gonna be dying if that's what you're talking about, because you're the only other person I know out there that even played it. It was so much fun. Oh my god, it was so much fun. You know Nightmare? Fuck. Um. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Other than the Panelverse, I think there is an online version of it. We're in it right now.
hold on. I gotta show you the parade. Hold on. The parade. The
You're at a
parade. Hold on.
parade.
The parade's gonna go in.
You
Ah!
you live the most unpredictable life. Oh my god! Wow! Hang on. I love
Oh.
this shit. Oh my god! Everybody love a
We've only
parade.
missed half of it already.
Wow! Y'all do some. This is truck parade. Y'all do some pretty decent
Mhm.
truck parades up
Well,
in
this is a
Maine.
late parade.
Leggy, this is as somebody from New Orleans. This is impressive. Maine got it going on.
My wife and all of them, they already left. I wasn't putting them on camera. Y'all
Are
ain't
they on one
special
of the
enough to see.
floats? These
Oh
are
yeah,
literally
they were the very
trucks on.
they were the third
Pl-
float. I see them move. That's why I was like, oh shit. Everybody's got
this
jeeps.
is wild. This is
Jeep Wrang-
cracking me
See,
up. I want to
Jeep
be here so
Cherokees.
bad.
Everybody's got Jeep
Do
Cherokees
they
around
throw
here.
anything, or you just watch from your car?
Oh, I'm just watching.
No
I am.
beads,
No,
candy.
they got some people's got candy and shit.
Oh,
Little
look at this one.
trinkets.
Wow. See, I would almost pay to watch this.
All right, we're
Is
getting
he a
to the end,
burglar?
everybody. No, we're getting to the end,
This is the end?
dude. I mean, you only live in a small fucking town, and
So
every
that was
little
like six. It's very small.
well, well, there was probably about 15 people altogether.
Oh, okay. So this is not the whole parade. Still, this is,
No, it's just small.
man, I'm
All right, here
impressed.
comes Santa Claus in the van. There's Santa
In the
Claus
ambulance,
in the ambulance. Yeah, can't see
Pleasant
Santa.
River. That's Santa.
Yeah, Santa's on the other side. Yeah.
Oh, okay. There's probably a lot of
See,
Santa candidates up there.
every little fucking town does this. So like every
Oh,
little,
wow.
like, you know what I
That's.
mean? So like they're not really big. It's more for the kids
I don't
Sunday.
even think we did little parades like this for. We had homecoming parades in high school, but that's about it.
When I was a kid, we didn't
And
have
Mardi
shit
Gras.
like this when I was growing up. Like this is all new within like the last 15 years. Like a lot of the shit. Like we had like a light parade, but it was one big light parade for the community. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It wasn't like every little town had their own little light parade. And now it's like every little town has their own festival of trees now too, which is fucking. It's like some of them are good, some of them are shit. Like today, I went to the festival of trees. Oh, I guess I lied. There was more way up above there. I
Oh,
lied.
is there more?
Santa Claus is right there in the old
Wait,
school
let's look
attire.
at Santa. Where
Up
is
west.
he? He having an
Hold on.
emergency? What's happening to Santa? It looks like an episode of Cops.
Yeah. See now I'm gonna come up the rear of the parade and I'm gonna smoke a joint.
Okay.
It's a good day though. I spent a lot of fucking money though. In all
That
honesty,
made
man.
my day.
I spent fucking $1,500 on tires. Fucking $2,600 on fucking electronics. I spent a
Is it
lot.
money you had to spend? Like you have stuff set aside for Christmas
Yeah,
and
I mean, I already paid.
emergencies and
As I
stuff?
told you, I paid all my rent's paid up till April. My lights are
Oh
should my
wow.
light
Okay.
my light should be paid till pretty close to April.
Do
Uh,
you think like a business? Like, do you run your household as though you were running a business?
I mean, I kind of have to because I'm quote unquote self-employed, even though I work for somebody. I guess independent contractor would be the right
Oh
definition.
yeah, that's what you're considered.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I work as when I work.
yeah, a 1099. Yeah, but you know, Jeff, I'm one of them type dudes though, and like not toot my own horn, but I could go apply for a job and within a week have a job.
Leggy, you put if you can do it, there's no excuse.
But there's a difference though, Jeff. Like how I am in my personal life is completely different than how I am in my public business
Yeah,
life.
I'd
You know
have
what
to
I mean?
see it.
Like,
You seem pretty. Joe, Joe talks about masking and the image you present to the world. I'd have to see it because you seem pretty natural. Like this is who you are. Not
I mean, I
lies. We've
am,
been
but I
trying to
also
fucking
know
do
how to.
this forever. I feel like it's Lucy in the football. Every time somebody mentions let's do a panel game, I get all excited. I run to kick the football and they yank it out just as I get to it. I wish people would stop teasing me with these panel game ideas because they get me all excited and there's never any follow through.
Well, that's not for me. That whole you transition from me to
Well, we never
panel.
did our music thing. We did it when we
Well,
did one episode.
that's because I got busy in
Not
real
me.
life, though. I got busy in real life.
Yeah, I know.
It's not
It's
like
just
but I didn't intentionally blow you off, though.
no. I don't think I know. Life
Like
just
like my family comes first, so
yeah, as it should. I support that.
and it always will come first, no matter what. Dude, Jeff, I tell you what, like hands down today, I could have cheated on my wife very easily today. Like not even joking, very easily. So there was
Well,
this
I'm
woman.
glad you didn't.
There was this woman, right? So I was sitting at VIP waiting for the tires to get put on. She come in, she had to have tires put on brakes, right? And she struck up conversation with me and the other old fellow that was sitting there. She was telling us how she was divorced and all this shit. And she was talking to the old guy and he was telling her about his sons and all this. And she goes, well, she goes, any of them single? She goes, 'Cause I just got divorced. And she goes, I'm definitely ready to meet somebody, right? And then, so the old
You wear
guy
your
left.
wedding ring?
Oh, I had my wedding ring on, right? And so then we're sitting there talking and all this shit. The old guy left. She goes, would you like to split a donut with me? And I was like, sure, why not? Right? Because, like, there was only one chocolate with the fucking crunch nut on it, and she grabbed it. And I like the crunch nuts. So I was like, sure. So I let her fucking, do it. Did it, and I said, yeah. And broke it. And then we got talking and all this, and then she was like, well, you said you had a daughter. What's her name? Because she writes children's books, right? So she pulled out this book and she signed it and all that to my kid. And then afterwards she goes, well, I'm hungry and stuff, man. She goes, so my vehicle got done before hers. I got out. She goes, would you mind giving me a ride to the post office and would you like to go get something to eat? And I go, no. She just kind of like looked at me like, I go, I don't have time. I'm sorry. But I'm thinking to myself, that's not fucking happening. Me put a fucking random ass woman in this fucking car, would be. And don't get me
Yeah, I
wrong.
think you made a smart decision.
Don't get me wrong. She was a very good looking woman, but but I'm just like I know me, and like it's one of them things. Like if I would have pursued it, like you know what I mean. I could have. Especially since I paid everything with cash, you know what I mean? So when you pull out a big wad of cash and hey, $1,500, in $100 bills and still got a wad of fucking money in your pocket that you put away, that kind of does raise eyes a little bit. So either she
That
wanted,
sounds like a good risk management like
so
strategy.
either she thought that, so one or two things. Either she thought, hey, it's a good opportunity. This man might have some money and maybe whatever. I'll try it and see. And or she was like going to try to rob me. One of the two. One of the two. But either way, I was like, no fucking
Your
way.
instincts were good. I didn't realize that the that there was that kind of temptation all around up there,
Dude, I'm telling you, man.
like
Like,
American Rust.
I'm not a. Look, I got a missing tooth. Other than that, I'm not a like no homo nothing. I'm not real in the wide cosmo of things. There's people a lot fucking uglier than me out there. You know what I mean? Like I'm not the
Oh, I
best looking
imagine.
dude,
Yeah, I'm
but I
sure.
sure the fuck ain't the fucking ugliest dude. And I got a few other things going for me, but
And it's a small town, so I guess the wedding
no,
ring is not as much of a
she's
deterrent
not
as it
even
would
from around
normally
here.
be.
Like dude, I was like an hour away from my house. When I say I go to town, like I'm driving like 60, 70 miles to town.
Well, you think your wife is doing the same, like honoring the same
Well,
way?
well, I mean, I would
Does she go
fucking
to
hope the,
town?
I would hope the fuck she would. If not,
Yeah.
we might have some serious issues. 'Cause that's one thing I definitely wouldn't tolerate with that bullshit. Well, that's what she was telling us, right? Me and the old guy. She told us how she caught her ex-husband cheating, right? Is she went to go use either a credit card or debit card or something like that, right? Went to use it and found out it was fucking, it got denied or whatever, right? So she checks it, she sees the hotel. Well, she recognized where the hotel was. She drove there. There was her husband's truck. Somehow she wind up catching her husband and this woman at the hotel. She goes, this motherfucker used my money to have an affair with this woman and then had enough audacity to try to lie to me about it.
I don't know if I'm ever going to Maine. It's one of those things to enjoy from a distance.
No, you're fine, Jeff. You'll
Are
fit
y'all,
right
yeah,
in.
y'all have cool parades though. I did
You'd
like
fit
that.
right
Give
the
them
fuck.
my
You'd fit right the
compliments.
fuck in. Fuck,
I
go to
have I have
Portland.
high standards for
My
parades.
brother-in-law, Jeff. Hey, my brother-in-law's gay, Jeff. I'll hook you up with my brother-in-law. Come to Maine.
Well, how old is he? Is he? Not if he's your
He's
age.
no, he's 28, but he's a
Oh
chef.
no, I'm
He's a
not.
chef. He's a chef and a
He.
pilot.
Oh my God, I really do have a thing for pilots, but
He,
he's
he,
way too
he
young.
just got his pilot license.
I'd be the daddy.
Look, trust me. He tries to talk to me and tell me stories. Sometimes I'll listen, sometimes I don't. Depends on the stories he's telling me. But I do know he doesn't really give a fuck too much about age. I mean, he does, but he doesn't. As long as the guy, I guess, according to him, as long as the gentleman still looks good, he's not opposed to a silver fox. He says.
Well,
Well,
I
there
think I
you
need
go.
more coffee. Joe,
There
do
you
you
go.
have anything to add?
No, not that.
Not. Do you have another topic that you?
Um, I think not at this moment. I think
Uh, you're chopping up for some
I'm
reason,
chopping up.
or you were.
Well, I'm just thinking that maybe we can see what people think about the discussion today, and if we want to pick up more on this topic later on, which would probably
And I
be
should mention tomorrow at the same time, Philip and I are doing our second episode of Tips for Success. Just the tips. I'll put the link, and we're gonna do books. So come and share any books that have helped you become successful or inspired you. Or oh my God, I dropped to 800. I would love not to go below a second time, but it looks like it could happen.
Jeff, you know what irritates me and Joe? So I bought the same exact tires, right? For this 10, not for this vehicle, but the same exact size and same exact set of tires as what I bought now, right? And they were just barely $1,000, right?
That's for
Had I
four,
not
like 250 a tire.
Had I not had the instant rebate and my military discount, I would have paid close to 16. I got about $200. Well, yeah, about $200 knocked off,
I
roughly.
think that's what I remember paying when I had to get new tires, and that was like 20 years ago.
What?
About 1,000.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And I
And
think that
now
was
the
like
same
Walmart
exact
prices
tires
too.
that I bought years ago. I mean, I say years ago, but it just boggles my mind how it's like they're almost double the price than what they were like 15 years ago. You know, because I think I paid just shy of 1,000,
Well,
and that was
Joe, do you have any thoughts on how he could have maximized his risk management or investment on buying tires?
On buying tires specifically, I don't think I have any immediate insight. Other than like, I know sometimes you can get like certain types of warranty deals or whatever, or coverage
Because he
plans
said he
through
had a
like,
rebate and a military
yeah.
discount. So he leveraged all of the strategies in his toolbox, I guess.
no. I didn't have my AAA card. My wife has that on her. If I had the AAA card, I would have saved $75 extra.
Oh,
On top.
okay, so you did overpay. And Philip says shop online, too.
I know, but then you still got to find a garage to mount and balance them. So I'd rather look at the tire, know what I'm buying, see it with my eyes, and have it put on all in the same day.
But that's a good point. Is like looking for opportunities. There's spending. There's income opportunity like cash flow and inflow, but there's also spending opportunities. So if you're going to spend, find the opportunities that give you the best value for your spending too.
Well, I kind of fucked up too because I thought that Wrangler, BF Goodrich there for the Wranglers or whatever, I thought they had a buy one get one free deal, but it wasn't. They've switched it to where you get $50 if you buy four, save $50.
But 1,000 for a good set of tires is about. If this was the Price is Right, that's what I would say that they
I
would go
mean, in
for.
my defense, I did buy 10-ply tires. I bought a thicker tire, too. But it is the same tire, though. What I'm saying, though, I bought a 10-ply Kevlar tire 10
So you're
years ago.
saying it went up?
Yeah, it went up $600 in like 15 years.
Oh wow.
That's what I'm saying. Almost double the price. Because I feel like I paid like with mount and balance. I feel like before it was just shy of 250. It was like 237 a piece. I feel like before, right around that. This
Well,
time it was
Philip
like
paid 1,200. His are 300 each.
just what I'm saying. But if you go back 10, 15 years ago, they were probably that
Well, is
different.
that inflation?
I mean, it must be. I mean, it has to be because I mean, as I said, I bought the same exact
From the
all-terrain
same business,
tire
same brand, same
from
tire, same
VIP.
company.
I bought them in VIP prior. I bought them at VIP again, and there's I'm saying the same exact
Did you
tire.
ask them today why your tires go up so much? What they
Well,
tell
I
you?
mean, the cost of everything's gone up. I mean, it's been 15 years, Jeff. I mean, I'm not stupid to think.
Yeah,
I'm just
but
saying it
six
just
hundred
boggles my
dollars.
mind.
That means you got them for 400, 10 years, 15 years ago, and now they're 1,000. That's over what 60%.
What? No, I
You
mean
said
it's
they went up
double.
$600.
Yeah, it went up $600. Yeah.
So you got them for 400.
Well, what did it
It
come
was
out?
$100 a tire.
Let's see here. Parts. This is how they broke it down. It says parts was 133. 133. Wait, hold on.
Are you still at the
13.
parade?
It was 1333.96. So $1,333.96 for parts. Labor was $128. They charged me $12 for shop fee, $26 for disposal of tires. I saved $125 in discount. The subtotal was 1374.98. Tax was 66.84 for a total of 1441.83. That was my total.
And how you have your receipt from 10, 15 years ago?
No, I don't have it with me.
You don't keep all your automotive receipts? I used to keep those in my glove box.
Well, I mean, I don't have the same vehicle I had then.
Oh, okay.
These were three 327.99 a piece is how much these tires were. Look them up. I'll tell you what they were.
Oh
You look
no,
'em up.
I don't have the head for that. I don't have
No,
the.
I was just going to tell you, look them up and just see how much they are online. They're just BFG all
I don't
terrain.
even have a car. I'm not in the market for tires at all.
Well, I get it, but you were talking about. I was just curious about how much online.
Well, look them up. You want me to look them up for you?
I'll do it really fast. Hold on, Jesus. I just figured where you got the computer and I'm on the phone, it'd be faster for you, you motherfucker.
Well, it could. I mean, I can be your reference librarian if you want. I've done it before.
Well, that's what I was hoping, Jeff. That's what I was hoping.
But I imagine the prices are going to vary locally, like from region to region too. But I can look up the Washington State prices. You'll probably. I'm thinking it's more expensive up here because everything seems to be. I'm not sure, Philip, what the rebate was. Do you play video games or board games? Is there any gaming skills that you can apply to this situation? I bet we could have got you a better deal. Just a bit. Hey, Helena. Oh,
Well,
Zents, what's
I
what's
just
going on?
looked. So besides going to Walmart, their other direct competitor, which was right across the road from Town Fair Tire, they were
Walmart
two.
is where I would always go.
Yeah,
Everything I'm
I
talking
guess
about
I
was
got charged
Walmart
$50
prices.
more a tire. But I
Because
don't know
Joe
if
is
that was
right
because.
about that. There was nowhere cheaper than Walmart. I went there
But
for
I
all of
don't
my
know if they're.
automotive stuff, oil
But yet these are
changes,
10-ply too. Hold on, I gotta look that up. I forgot to look up the
tune-ups,
10-ply.
tires, parts, everything. That was my first and usually last stop. Hey, African.
Hey, how's it going, guys? You guys well?
Okay. You have any thoughts on spending or
I'm
saving
spending monies.
or finding money?
Money is like water to me, bro. Jesus. I just, I'm lucky.
Do you have it? Do you have you have ways of making it come to you, like bring it into your life?
Yeah. I've got passive money. I've got I own a house. I have a little holiday home down south. I'm okay. You know what I mean? I'm alright. And what more worries me is that when I don't have kids though. That's probably more the thing. My expense aren't on that, on that regard. Maybe that's a regrettive moment in time, but it's the way it is. I can still have kids, I guess. I'm young enough to. But I worry about how society later on will be like, okay, hilt me to the, tax me to the hilt.
Wow, that's
So
weird.
it's
That
just
tire,
you. It's
depending
just
on where
yourself you
you
have to
buy
worry
that
about.
tire
No,
from.
I have a missus.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
So I
We
just
don't have
looked.
kids for 2 years,
Depending
so
on
we're
where
okay.
you buy that tire from, it's anywhere from $187 all the way to $400.
Well, it
Roughly
sounds like you got a
$400.
good deal, and you still complaining.
Hey Jeff, I'm gonna I'll go ahead and step out because they'll be closing down here in a bit.
Okay, Joe. Good. Glad you could
Yep.
spend time with us. I think
Hi, Joe.
these are
You
some
be
good,
safe. Always good.
productive topics.
Yep. Thank you.
All right.
And then there were three, as they say.
Then there was you. I might
Oh.
let you and Leggy carry the show for a minute while I go get a
What?
refill.
Oh, you're getting a
Go get a
refill.
refill, Jeff.
I don't
Yeah,
even know who Leg is.
I'll be
Ever.
right back. Hey, Chuck. Hey, I've been wanting to talk to you. You're just the guy I
Yeah,
want to
I
see.
do too. Mr. Jack Talcott was a fucking downright fucking asshole to that
Well,
man.
that's a different topic for a different channel. But
I know. I'm
I
just saying. I
I need to
felt
talk
bad for
business
Chuck.
with Chuck.
Chuck was up
Business
there, and
monies on this platform. Yeah, wow.
just saying. I'm just
You,
saying. I'm just saying.
you
I
know,
felt
Okay.
bad.
Well,
yeah,
I'll be right back.
we'll be right back. All right. All
It
right.
was just-
I'll tell him when he gets back.
So, Mr. African, sir, how are you?
I'm all right. It's been an interesting week.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, I have guests downstairs. I'm up here talking to you guys. They can entertain themselves. They got enough people down there. They're
Yeah.
having a cigar and brandy night. So I grabbed one. So I grabbed my cigar and I got the brandy. And I've got my hat. This is from Nepal. And you like kind of wear these things and have a little bit of a banter, you know?
Well, I don't have no brandy, but I got a.
Oh, it's
I got a.
cognac. You got a stogie.
Yeah.
Yeah, good man. Is that a joint or
That would be a King Palm blunt, sir.
oh, it's a blunt? You
Yeah.
blunties. You're
See what I
American.
smoke right here.
Mm. Ah, you buy them like that?
Yeah, that's what I. That's what I.
They actually come like that,
Well,
prepackaged,
I
pre-rolled.
pack them. I got to pack them myself,
Oh,
but
so so they're just the skin, if you will.
yeah, it's just the skin. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I get you. What did you pack inside it? Is it like full on blunt?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, yeah, that's
But
not too bad, bro.
no, I
Yeah.
figured I'd pick up pops off it. What fuck's in here? I ain't gonna get too baked. I still gotta drive all
Oh,
the way fuck home.
yeah. How far you got to drive?
Not far. I only gotta go about 20 miles, but
Oh, you're right. Oh, yeah.
I don't. I
America's
don't.
fast.
I don't fucking.
Whereabouts in the States are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm in Maine.
Maine. So you're
Yeah.
up like north, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know. Mm. And then, so it's cold right now. I take it a little. It's
Yeah.
okay.
It's
Heavy snow.
What is it?
I don't
It's
know because it's
28
close to
degrees
Canada.
right now.
Oh, you
28
guys take Fahrenheit.
degrees.
The fuck is
Negative
that?
2 Celsius.
-2. Wow. So it's quite nippy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nippy. It's supposed to be a little bit warmer tomorrow.
Yeah.
No wind.
No, was it Maine? Maine was the place, wasn't it? Maine, New England was the place where they landed first, didn't they? Like
What do you mean?
was the
Who
land
landed?
rather than north, fucking Hudson Bay,
Oh,
Canada.
what? When they came over a long time ago?
Yeah. It was there. Maine.
No,
It
that was
was it New
they
England?
landed at wasn't it Plymouth Rock? They landed at?
Yeah.
Actually,
Isn't it
no. Technically, the very first island, the very first civilization over here, as far as a colony, was Roanoke.
Where?
Roanoke, the colony of Roanoke.
Roanoke.
Yeah,
Roanoke.
that's off the
The
coast
Lost
of South
Colony.
Carolina.
Oh, is it the
Yeah.
last one?
So pretty much what happened is the guy that settled the town, right? When he left to go back over to England and get held up and shit,
Mm.
all shit fucking broke loose. So by the time he got back, it was
They
years
were
and
gone.
years
They're
and
dead.
years. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So
I mean, Brew. I understand this because it was what was it Lloyd's who used to back the fact that they used to say, okay, I'll build a ship, I'll go there, I'll bring goods back, and they were millionaires with that gamble. The men that
yeah,
did.
Creotoan, yeah,
Yeah,
Creotoan.
but when the first trackers went there, because again, when the first trackers went into America, that land to tame it, if they didn't live a season, give or take a season, they were that's it, finish. And they forget, like people forget that. People forget how wild that land actually was.
Yeah, it was
You know,
hard. It was brutal.
still kind of is, but it was exactly. It was fucking hardy. Again, why
They do
Washington?
say though
Washington was
that
what
there's
when
more.
you read about that guy, Jesus Christ, was he a tough cunt?
Which one?
Washington,
Oh yeah.
that motherfucker was tough, man. Tough as you can get, man. And his men, to get through that. If you understand the wilds, if you live out there, and I've done my own fair share of fieldcraft and out there in the bush and out there in the highlands and the wetlands and up in the mountains and the desert. I've done a lot and jungles. Jungles, fuck that. You got to live there to know jungles. Fuck.
Wow,
Well,
what jungles were you in?
Belize,
Oh,
Angola.
Belize.
Yeah, Belize, because that's where we trained. We trained in Belize. Again, it was Jamaica, the Blue Mountains.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man, that's where we trained up, man. That's the the army stuff. That's survival. And Kenya had some of but that was more arid. That was getting us used to Afghanistan.
Did you see any lions or wild animals?
Yeah, in Africa. Yeah, plenty, man. When I was growing up, dude. Like literally, I'm not saying I'm walking to school and seeing a fucking lion, because they're generally in those zones. But yeah, if you go out in the bush and stuff, if you're not careful, you're fucked. Proper. You got to be very careful out there.
is that true, not Oz? Did they really? Because see, I watched a lot of shit about that. And I don't know if I seen that. I
Seen
I
what?
don't, because not Law said that they found a genetic
Oh,
cousin.
don't. I wish.
What?
Be skeptical. I wish
No,
people
that's
would.
why I was saying I haven't.
Not laws is hard to know when to take seriously.
What is he asking?
He said they found evidence.
He's spreading gossip about this colony.
Well, I think they were looking for it because they said that it is plausible that they probably did get to either if the Creatorans didn't skin them alive, that some of them might have survived, especially the women, and the women probably got intermingled within the society. More like the guy's daughter, his daughter and shit probably got intermingled more so than the men did. So, but who knows? Yeah. But yeah, Roanoke Colony was the first American colony, technically.
Oh
It was
shit!
the first one?
I was talking over myself there.
Oh, I didn't know
Sorry.
it was the first.
Yeah, it was technically the first American colony, but it failed. So therefore, I think Jamestown
Oh.
is
Yeah, when you
is
say
more.
American colony, you do mean like British or you got to go down to the roots of it, don't you? I mean, the reason I've seen, I understand why the Protestants grew out there is because the Protestant empire sees that money is to us, where the Catholics go, money's to them. So the Protestants did push that idea and then went to spread out themselves, and then bang, that's why you have this growth over there in America. It's like a natural capitalism, I guess. That's why America is like fantastic. It was a constitution.
Because of the Protestantism?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, I would say that's true. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Because I mean, is it in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and those things, those three fucking things said there, are unbelievable. Wow, check that dude out. But those things are unbelievable because it does say one has capital, one has gain, and one can do what they want in the pursuit of your own. You're an agent of yourself.
What? Oh, sorry. I thought that was another parade. That was your
They're just
dashboard.
coming back.
I
They're just
saw
coming back.
lights.
Oh, yeah,
I got excited. So, are you're parked at the same place?
Yeah, I moved.
Oh, okay. Here's the man of the hour. At least I think it is. What's up, Chuck? You're not coming in. Are you connected today?
There we go. I should be here now.
I can barely hear you. Let me check here.
Testing.
Say
1 2
something.
1 2. Testing 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, you're there. You're just coming in really low. Let me turn you up. Yeah.
I can check fine.
Oh, you're kind of roboty. What's been going on? Uh,
Come on, man. You made
we're
me feel
losing
bad.
all the cool guests with their connections.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. I'm not one
No,
of those.
not that you're not. I'm glad we have you and Leggy.
Yeah, I was gonna
I,
say, Jesus, you've been dissing me hard lately, Jeff. Thanks.
I,
I have not.
I was going to add something. I was talking, and I think I muted myself, that they have found like monolithic sites in North America, in your America, in the area, in like the Great Lakes, that are representative of like the stone druid stuff from England and Europe. You know that?
Yeah.
No, let me
Yeah,
look
they
that up.
have. Yeah. So there's places in, I think in Virginia as well. It goes through that look and sort of have that same connotation of the Druidic peoples that were there once. Like they say that did the Knight Templars leave fucking Scotland to get fucking into America to plunder, give their treasure there as quickly as they can. That's why when the Sonic.
Oh, it's under the lakes. They're
Yeah,
finding them.
it's under the lakes. That's correct. Yeah, because that shows, of course, the way that the frozen ice caps over millennia have changed. The way how the Earth is and how we see it today. So, like Doggerland in the Channel here that we have, so the English Channel, there's a place called Doggerland, and that used to be
Yeah.
an area between us and Europe. It was marshy and stuff. But nevertheless, in North America, there are sites there that you kind of look at and think, holy shit. And they're old, man. They're as old as fucking Stonehenge and shit. And they have the same sort of vibe and feel. Seriously. Unbelievable. But real.
Yeah, there were people here way before. I
That's,
know in Louisiana there's mounds that predate the pyramids.
you
They're
did,
like thousands years
yeah,
old. They're the oldest man-made structure in the Americas.
but they're not complicated, are they?
No,
Of
they're
Oh,
course,
it's
just
like
mounds of dirt. They're on the LSU campus. Kids,
yeah.
the
You showed,
kids
yeah,
walk on them, have picnics on them.
yeah. You
Oh
showed me one.
yeah. I know what
Yeah.
you're talking. It's like
But those
But
guys,
those kind of mounds are all over that area. They're all over
yeah.
the
well, it's
South.
like that cave. Where the fuck's this
Do you think
cave at?
could that be mining as well? Say mined and then moved that soil? Could it be
Mining?
part of that? Yeah, I mean you don't rather than just dumping it, they're moving it there, or did they specifically make a point of it? I would love.
I don't know. I think they were burial mounds or religious mounds. The only mining I know in that area is they have salt mines and sulfur mines. There may be other types of mines, but I don't know really what kind of mining they have down there. But did the ancient peoples even use that stuff? Like metals?
Yeah, of course they did. Yeah, of course they did. Yeah. Mm. And they would have been used for it, of course, even if it was like you know ceremonial or for the highest. Of course they did. Yeah. There's been the luster for gold, silver, copper, bronze, polishing. Little trinkets, man. Forever, humans, we're fucking strange, man, because we keep things and we want to shape them and make something out of them. And
It
there's a
looks
little,
like a lot of them are burial mounds. The ones I'm
yeah.
finding.
So that's again, and that goes to say that they had some sort of belief and system. They weren't just fucking ooga booga.
Oh, take care, Manel. Good to see you. Finland. Well, what happened to y'all, not lost? Did y'all get Christianized like Norway?
They died. They died out, man. I mean, they would have died out eventually. Maybe bred a little with the people. The Vikings were intriguing as well. All our societies are fucking amazing. And somebody was telling me that the reason Mesopotamia and that fell, he was trying to say it was because of the Khans, Genghis and all that. Yeah. And I was like, oh, no, I think it was more the Greeks, fucking Alexander of Macedonia who sacked Persia. It's as in, when they had their greatest time, their Europe of that time, or Venice of that time, was so ancient, so long ago, and what destroyed them. And that was before Islam. And see, those places today are beckoned by Islamic rule, which is, essentially from Judaic rule, and just with a bit of other sort of malarkey in it.
What is?
Islamic rule in the Middle East. Don't worry, I'm just
Oh
bad.
yeah, it post dated the other Abrahamic religions.
Yeah, what Islam? No, it doesn't. Zoroastrianism does. I think it's Zoroastrianism. That was one of the ones, wasn't
That
it?
was Persia. That came
Yeah,
before, but
yeah, of course.
Islam came later.
Yeah, of course it does. It comes way later. It comes later after Christendom, basically. But it is from those things. It's just looking at the theology of it and respectively the evidence that points to why it has been. It is created. You look at it. It can't just be blind faith, huh?
Well, I think a lot of that stuff is, I don't know, blind faith, but definitely faith.
Mm.
Well, they drew on Judaism or Muhammad, whoever wrote the Quran, but they're not sure he had access to the actual Hebraic writings. It seems to be whatever Jewish legends
I
were
mean,
around in his time that he could collect and had
I mean,
access to.
I mean, look. The reason there's so much more of Christ within Islamic texts is because it was hundreds of years after Christendom, and also that's it. So a formulation of how they got that and created that, where they say the Prophet Muhammad, and because of Gabriel and the miracle of the mound, and he can, all that is circumvent to the reality of it that many don't want to have a discussion of. Hence why you got some Puritans in Afghanistan that decided to blow up huge ancient Buddha symbols in the mountains there, because it can't exist. It's haram. It's that. It gets rid of it, and without knowing. So there's no like it feels, as I put it, there's no real sort of discussion here with Islam, because there's no head of Islam. There's no Catholic Church. There's no Pope. There's no prophet. There's no.
It's just the book.
Yeah, it's not just the book, isn't it? It's how it's driven. It's more like a way of life, because it's your money, it's your law system, and how you govern yourself, and then the faith to paradise. What you're allowed to do through man. It's all about the man. Remember, like, they separate the woman and the man. Yeah.
I really don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
I've had Muslim friends, but we haven't really talked much about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of groups. Yeah, I like that. It's just because I believe it's always a powerhouse, isn't it? Power, gain, money, wealth.
Well,
Structure.
yeah. I mean, most
But
of that
without-
stuff always is, but I mean that's part of it. But I think it also brings meaning to a lot of people's lives, above and beyond whatever the initial power motives were.
Of course it does, but when does it take to radicalize and how to brutalize the society? It took us, from how long to, again, like I said, get away from the Catholic order, from what Lutheran was it Lutheran? Yeah, and how that started to gain one's freedom, and of course to take that away from the power, the source, which was the king head, the fucking monarchs, and then the church head, to separate those powers, where Islam does not separate those powers at all. They're ruled as one. And that's why it's so difficult for the Western ideal to try to say, okay, let's invite it in. Because essentially, once you invite these things in, the way it grows, it destroys, it does not work, it undermines what we, the Western Foundation, have taken 2,000 years or longer to create this, to be where we are.
I would say Islam is part of the West. The Quran is definitely a Western book.
There's Islam before Muhammad, if you want to say that. Okay, there is. And then there comes Muhammad, and then what we see today is Islam. And that is not allowed to be challenged. Because once you challenge those things within it, you're an apostate.
But you could say the same thing about the Catholic Church.
Oh, but the Catholic Church, nevertheless, has moved on from those things.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Sometimes each pope will move it just a tiny little bit.
Yeah, but you don't.
And even Islam, don't they have different sects or factions that slightly disagree about things and split off?
Again, the way we split off to the way they have split off are very different, extremely different. because they
But there's still the fact that there's splits at all to me would
yeah,
indicate that
but
it's
but
not like a airtight
no, of course
dogma.
not. No, but the splits in terms of where Muhammad comes, where Sunni comes and Shiites come, and all that, it comes from basically assassinations of the ones they call the prophets. So they were assassinated or murdered or died naturally, and then another group went, well, no, it's our turn, and then the splits come from that. So it's like almost a family feud, if you will, a power vacuum that happens. So this becomes part of it. It's not one whole. And I'm not
Because
saying, yeah,
aren't
this
they
one,
fighting each other? Like the different was it Sunni, Shia? Is that the main two?
Sunni, Shia,
Aren't they
because
fighting each other?
Wahhabists are the ones who own Saudi, which are generally the Wahhabists.
Oh,
I don't take this
and they have the
lightly.
Sufis too.
It's Sufism, yeah.
There's so much religion to keep up with. It's like it starts out as a story that fragments into different sub stories and subplots. It's like keeping up with fan fiction.
Exactly what I call their thing. Hey, Jeff, I've got to go. I'm going to go see somebody downstairs. Be safe. Eh?
Oh yeah, sure. Take care.
If you're
good
around in a bit, I'll come back on. But if you're gone,
Okay.
be lovely. Be good.
I may or may not be. He'll see if anyone comes on, but I might be out this evening too. I know I say that every day, but one of these days it will happen because I want to try out those jewels. But apparently, like I don't know how this jewel thing works. Has anyone tried them yet? It's something you can do on Vertical Stream. It instead of super chats, and you buy them in packages, and then you can give gifts during Vertical Streams, but one jewel is 1 cent, is 1 penny, so it takes like 100 jewels to even make $1. I'm not sure who came up with this scheme. It is okay. Yes, it is. I'm gonna eventually. I'm working on. I've kind of touched on this before. I did like a little introduction to some of Northrop Frye, who studies this stuff, and I'm gonna go into more detail with it at some point once I figure out how I want to present it, and I think I'm gonna do it as a content video, not as a live stream. But at the origins of society are these stories and these myths, and they eventually develop into larger mythic structures, and other stories split off from them for different reasons. You have stories that form in reaction to existing stories and become like revolutionary myths, etc., of which Judaism and its descendant Christianity and even Marxism are all revolutionary myths, and there's a through line for every one of those. And then you have a second type of story, which is the scientific and more rational story, which is designed to describe the universe or the physical world as it is. It's not. You have the type of stories that are more socially oriented, designed to hold a society together and give meaning to that society, and then you have the type of stories that are intended to describe the universe as we're able to assess it at that moment. And those two stories gives rise to completely different value systems, both personal, intellectual, and social value systems. But it's this whole network of mythologies, and we're still living in that. Like that's part of not even Western culture, I would say. I think it applies to all cultures. But Western culture took a particular story path, and its stories developed in very particular ways in relation to each other through as history went on. And so I think you could look at it all as story as the basis for understanding it. Even science. Science is a very particular type of story that we tell about a very particular subject. But the other stories also have their applications to areas outside of science. And that's where things like religion, philosophy, ideology, art, meaning, aesthetics all comes in. And we see stories like the modern stories emerging with stuff like wokeness and the narratives around race and oppression and the origins of America and colonization and imperialism and that type of stuff. I think there's a new story attempting to form in reaction to the existing stories, and something's going to come up in, I don't know, 100 years or so and form against whatever the woke story is. And these stories kind of have a life cycle too. They start as one type of story, and then they kind of increase and develop and solidify, and eventually settle into some kind of dogma and become closed. They start more open and fluid, and eventually they become more closed. And when that happens, other stories start to form in reaction to that closeness, and try to open that up. And eventually those stories start to close, and some other stories develop off of that closeness, etc. And so knowing what type of story you're dealing with when you're looking at culture, and what degree of closeness or openness you're dealing with. And the two stories that kind of developed in reaction to the decline of Christianity, or the ossification of Christianity into dogma and monolith, were the myth of democracy and the myth of the Marxist myth. And those two developed about the same time in reaction to the Enlightenment. And so it is interesting. It's actually fascinating to me. I'm just trying to figure out a way to present it all in a coherent way that's going to be able to be communicable and helpful. So I'm working on it. There's a Northrop Frye essay that's helping me with. And he draws on a theorist, an Italian theorist named Giambattista Vico, Vico, for a lot of this. Vico was one of the few theorists, one of the original theorists, to kind of study the myth-making element to human culture at the origins of culture. And you see it nowadays, and Jordan Peterson kind of touches on a lot of it, and that school. But Northrop Frye was about a generation before Peterson. He was actually a professor at the University of Montreal, same university as Peterson and Marshall McLuhan. And I think he's much more useful, at least for me, in explaining and helping me to understand this than Peterson is. Peterson, to me, just seems like a rehash of what I already get from Northrop Frye. Oh, I'm just trying to. Yeah, Joseph Campbell. It was Joseph Campbell, Northrop Frye. Northrop Frye looks at it, and he was a literature professor, so he studies the stories themselves. Joseph Campbell kind of does the same thing, but more from an anthropological viewpoint, where he actually studies the cultures that the stories rise from. And Carl Jung does it more from who preceded them, studies it more from a psychological perspective. And he hypothesizes this collective unconsciousness that gives rise to the stories. But what Frye does is he doesn't resort to the concept of the collective unconscious, because you can study the patterns and the archetypes in the stories themselves without necessarily needing to tie it to anything about the psyche that generates it. And so he kind of grounds it more empirically for me by keeping it tethered to the stories themselves and without the psychological underpinnings for it. Oh yeah, Hume. I did too. Jung was the thinker that set me on my path into all of this stuff originally. I've talked before how I was New Age and astrology. I was studying to be an astrologer, and eventually I studied myself out of astrology and started to see kind of the holes in it and the ways it didn't make sense. And Jung was the thinker that led me out of that into something more grounded in philosophy and psychology. But then eventually I studied myself out of Jung, mainly by using through my studies of philosophy and then literature. And to me, philosophy and literature kind of make up one field of study. Yeah, me too. I was I used to read tarot cards and study astrology, and I was going to try to make a living off of this. Was like in my early 20s. And in New Orleans, in Jackson Square, in the French Quarter, you could get a permit from the city to set up a table and do psychic readings or tarot readings or whatever, and I was going to apply to get I ended up moving, but if I had stayed in New Orleans, I was going to apply for a permit to read tarot in the public square. And so yeah, I'm working on that. I'll cover it at some point. I think I'm going to have to take it in small chunks, but I'll eventually get it out there. Yeah, but Zentz, it's almost impossible to live your life without some kind of story or myth that you're living out in the process, either consciously or without the awareness. So we're kind of all in our own story. Joe mentioned earlier today how we're the hero of our own story. So it's hard to escape story because not only do we live out stories, but it's how we organize our day-to-day information. Our brain, the story as a unit seems to be the most efficient way for our brain to process and package and utilize information. So it's almost impossible to escape stories. So I think the best we can do is just become more aware of the stories that we use and how we use them, and the stories that society like participates in and uses, whether we ourselves, whether they reflect our own personal story or not. Because right now, especially in the West and in countries like America, which is more of an open myth, we have many competing stories to kind of choose from that kind of all coexist. So it's not organized into any centralized dogma that are one dominant myth or story. Although I think there is room for an American myth, and many writers have tried to pursue it. It seems to be elusive, but we have different versions of it that are put forth. Walt Whitman, Emerson as well, Henry James, Mark Twain, in the 20th century, people like Faulkner, Hemingway, Fitzgerald, our poets. Those have all made attempts at, and that's kind of the purpose of the poet or the writer or the artist, is to continually communicate some kind of story for that age that like to at least offer it that people can attempt to make use of. And I'm not sure we're getting our modern day stories through poets and writers anymore, other than the extent to which writers are being translated into movies. I started watching this really excellent TV series called American Rust that started on Showtime in 2021, and he's a writer named Philip Meyer, and he also wrote a book called The Sun, which was made into a series, which I'll probably try to watch as well. And it kind of reminds me of, it's probably the closest to True Detective after True Detective. It's kind of that look at the raw underbelly of America, and it's set in the Rust Belt in this small dying town in Pennsylvania, and just the life of people in those towns. A lot of drug addiction, no economy to speak of at all. And so I think maybe movies, TV series, in my generation, Generation X, hey, I'd say maybe music, rock music, punk. There were some musical subcultures that I think offered a myth for their time. But where are we getting our modern day myths? Are they coming from video games? Are they coming from movies and TV series? Are they coming from Marvel superhero myths? Oh, Jax, I didn't even think about it. I can. The problem is, I think I'm on the 4th episode. Each episode's about an hour long. I don't mind rewatching them. I don't. They're really dark and gritty. Like, just when they get pretty fucked up. Just when you think these people in these small towns can't do something more fucked up, they do. Like, they go there. It goes there. And that's my favorite TV series. And this series I'm talking about, American Rust, reminds me of the 3rd season, the one set in the Ozarks, in that poverty-stricken community. It's the same aesthetic, the same themes, the same type of people. So if Nick Pizzolatto had written a fourth season of True Detective in a similar setting, it would be very similar to, I think, this American Rust series. Yeah, they can. There's something about watching it communally too. The problem is, when I put things on the Discord, nobody shows up, and then I end up um, trapped, like running the show and in Discord, and I can't do other things with my computer while it's running. But if there's interest in it, I don't mind re-airing it. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue to watch it on there, and it actually got picked up for a second season. So, I don't know where they're going with it. I may be very disappointed in the ending, but so far it's really keeping my attention. And the modern America myth, I think for a lot of people, is a very bleak one. And shows like True Detective, shows like this American Rust, and you could probably come up with others. I think that's one thing they reveal or put forth. But it also doesn't have to be that way. Because my version of the American myth is the opportunity that we all have here, that this country gives us, to use our agency, our own strengths, our own talents, to kind of create the whatever life we can envision for ourselves. We can at least take steps toward creating that and bringing that into existence. The American dream, I think, is still alive. So we have the American nightmare and the American hellscape, which a lot of these movies are good at portraying, but I think within all of that, we have a unique form of empowerment or opportunity for empowerment here in America. And other Western countries, I would say as well, but I can only speak for the American version of it. So I don't think we're doomed to follow any particular myth. I think that we can... I think there's still a hero and a hero's journey. And one thing I like about True Detective is they're kind of anti-heroes. They're the two detectives, Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson, and this is true for any of the series. But let's use that as an example. They're very flawed people. Woody Harrelson is not a person that you would probably want your kids looking up to, nor is Matthew McConaughey, but they are the ones that defeat the dragon, defeat the monster, the enemy. They are the ones that rid the community of evil and restore good to the community. And so as flawed as they are the only heroes left to do what a hero is called upon to be done in that situation. And so I think there still is a myth of heroism, but I think it's a more realistic look at what is a hero. They're not going to be these noble, idealized, perfect figures. They're going to be very, very flawed people, but at the same time, they're still going to be able to enact some kind of myth that advances not only their own personal good, but a common good, often at the expense of the personal good. So, right, yeah. So, regardless of how flawed, and there's a lot of, it's one of the movies that are used as, yeah, Superman doesn't actually exist. We get the modern American version of the Superman. And the movie's kind of put forth as an example of toxic masculinity and everything wrong with men, but there's no one else in the movie or in the series to root for or to tie your affections to or like your loyalty to, but those two very flawed men. Like, so it almost, it does a really good job of almost forcing you to adopt them as the hero of the series despite their flaws. And there's many examples in literature prior to True Detective that do that. But that is kind of a modern, I'd say post-Christian, post-Enlightenment phenomena or use of the hero myth. So I guess that's all I have to say on that today. In fact, I'm probably going to go finish watching some more of it. I'm in the middle of the 4th episode. It's really good. So if anyone wants to rewatch it in Discord, just put a note in the movie channel, and we can coordinate a time, and I don't mind re-airing it. But in the meantime, I'm going to go continue it on my own. Also, video games. I'm still looking for gamers for that co-op escape the castle game called We Were Here. Or we have other games going on. Talk to Moose too. He has some games running. And Philip, did you want to do thumbnails, or you want to save that for tomorrow? Tomorrow is our series with King Philip. I'll drop his channel on what's it called? Success. We're going to talk about books that have contributed to success. Take care, Helena. If I'm not out this evening, I'll be out tomorrow with Philip for our success series. And here is the Philip. My subscribers dropped back down to 800. So all of our subscribe-a-thon, our 6-hour subscribe-a-thon thing was all for naught. But I think it was a great show, and I'm looking forward to see what happens tomorrow. So there's the link for tomorrow's episode. All right, let me. I need to firm it up a bit. I'm working on it, and also I've been like refocusing all my energies on this job stuff. And so once I get some bandwidth back to apply to that, I think I'm going to start rolling out some episodes. It's going to be a multi-part series, and I'm not sure how many parts yet. There's a particular Northrop Frye essay that I think I'm going to take and break down. I've done a book club on it already, so I think I'm going to use that as kind of my guide and just try to break it into small chunks and find a way to present it. The problem is you kind of have to. The concepts in the essay are all tied together, so it's hard to just take it chronologically, bit by bit. I kind of have to figure out how to pull parts of it out that I can isolate without and gradually tie them to other parts. So it's going to be a very non-linear. I have to take this very linear essay and find a very non-linear way to present it, I think, to do justice to the concepts. So. That's what this channel it kind of is it's about process more than product. And so I do want to show the creative process, my own process. It's a very experimental channel to begin with. You and I have a process we're developing each time we do an episode of this show, and I like that people can it gives kind of a view into the process itself without expecting any kind of final form of content. And sometimes some good content emerges from the process. But I think that's kind of the point, is that the process is what gives rise to the content, and people can see it happen live instead of just show up for some prepackaged content. Hey, Vinny, what's up with you? I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever know as much as the people that have inspired me talking about books, but I can at least present what I gain, like what I gain or what I learn from consuming their insights, I guess. Oh. Well, you know what? Let me find a panel. I know TML just went live. Let me find a panel to send everyone to. You know, when I hit 1,000, if that ever happens, I'll be able to send you on raiding parties where I can dump you all into someone else's channel. In the meantime, I have to do it manually. We have Sasquatch, who's live now. There's his show. And, oh, Cheesehead. Cheesehead doesn't go live very often. I think he does it once each weekend. So you have an opportunity to catch a live Cheesehead stream. There's Cheesehead. Zat is live at a brewery right now, which is interesting. I love the live, like, slice of life, walkabout type streams. Zat's doing one. The good thing about the story type topics is that stories are something everybody can relate to. So it's like a common hook that can, draw in many different people. Okay, those are 3 that you can go check out now, and I'll wind this one up. So once again, thanks for hanging out. I think you're the best audience on YouTube, and I hope you keep coming back. And I'll try to do a vertical tonight. No promises, but if I don't, I'll be out with Philip again tomorrow for our second episode of Tips, just the tips, how to be successful, and again, process. We're all figuring it out together. I think Joe helped a little bit today. I know I got a lot out of his insights, and we'll see what happens with Philip and I tomorrow. And guests, it's an open panel, so feel free to show up and talk about books that have helped you become successful. All right, take care, everybody. If I don't see you on Discord or later tonight, I'll see you tomorrow with Philip. It's been a hell of a stream. Thank you all. Take care.